You get 10% off Thrive when you go to trythrive.com/relationship theory. That's trythrive.com/relationship theory for 10% off your order. Now back to the episode. I wasn't turned on sexually because I could barely, I didn't think of myself as sexy. I was hurting, I was in pain, I was in agony all the time. I could barely stand up, my hair was falling out, I couldn't wear a bra. So it's like, it had nothing to do with you, the fact that I didn't want sex. It was the fact that I felt weak, in pain, and didn't feel sexy. Even when I wasn't in pain, I just didn't feel sexy. And so that didn't turn me on. You're 100% right.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Relationship Theory. And by the way, if you haven't, be sure to subscribe. We're going to deliver you a ton of value today, all around one topic. And that topic is, in a long-term relationship, how do you make sure that you maintain peak levels of interest around sex? So here we go.
All right.
Kick us off with a question.
Let's do it.
And let's see how we do.
All right. Hello. I was wondering. It's just with an exclamation.
I love it. Just like that.
Yeah. I was wondering if you would let me know your thoughts on having a quality sex life after being in a relationship for a long time. Specifically, my husband and I have been married for 10 years. We have 2 young children, so our daily attention is on them. We have prioritized sex so that we have some sort of physical connection twice a week. I find that I often have a hard time getting into it, but after a while, it's enjoyable. Do you have any recommendations to increase the desire so I actually do want it more and get excited for those nights? Assume that my health is optimal and my husband and I are great friends who love each other deeply.
All right, smart. So, hey, let's just get right to the stereotypes. So this sounds so self-evident. In fact, were there any there were, she said husband, right? Mm-hmm. So we know that she's the wife. Because I was gonna say, I guarantee that's written by a woman. So the old joke used to be, so Sting, the singer, it's funny to think that some people don't know who that is now, he used to say that sex with his wife lasted 8 hours. And so people were like, oh my God, this is crazy. These guys have all this crazy tantric sex and they're having sex for 8 hours. And I remember thinking, Jesus, like that does not sound like fun. That is way too long. And he finally clarified and he said, that was taken out of context. What I said was, for my wife, you have to like really get her in the mood. It starts like with flirtation before we go out shopping. And he's like, then it's being attentive while we're shopping. And then it's coming home and it's kissing. And then, you know, it becomes actual intercourse. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. Like it's so different. I need a whisperer. You need only graze my groin and I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? Like for real. It is like, I am just down for the get down. But for you, and I would say for women in general, for men it's the same, for women it's the same. These are rough approximations. Of course, for some men it's different, for some women it's different. But just sort of down the middle, what are the averages? Women need that buildup. And the coolest way I've ever heard this said is, men need to have sex to feel loved, women need to feel loved to have sex. So what is that thing that she needs? Is it attention? She needs to feel seen and recognized. Is it that, like one of the most interesting insights about sex I've ever heard in my life is that women want to feel sexy. They want to be the center of sexual attention. And I was like, huh? Like that's so foreign as a guy. Like I can't tell you how stupid and unsexy it feels to me to try to pose or be sexy. Like you used to try to dress me up for Halloween and things that you thought were so cool. And I wanted to dress up as an inflatable samurai. Like or a sumo wrestler. Halloween for me is about funny. And you being sexy, yes, that I find really interesting. But me being sexy feels super weird. So it was like a really strange revelation to realize that you aren't dancing sexy or strip teasing devoid of pleasure for yourself and just trying to turn me on. You're doing it because it turns you on to turn me on. I was like, oh my God, like my mind was blown and I was just like, what? Like, I don't need that. Like it is awesome if you're like, oh my God, I'm so turned on by you. I love that. But I would get an erection either way. You know what I mean? If you're like, all right, we're doing it for you. Okay, cool. Like, thank you. You know what I mean? It's like,
that's why when I was so sick and like just I wasn't turned on sexually because I could barely, like, I didn't think of myself as sexy. I was hurting, I was in pain, I was in agony all the time. I could barely stand up, my hair was falling out, I couldn't wear a bra. So it's like, it had nothing to do with you, the fact that I didn't want sex. It was the fact that I felt weak, in pain, and didn't feel sexy. Even when I wasn't in pain, I just didn't feel sexy. And so that didn't turn me on. You're 100% right.
Yeah. It is really, so we're culturally going through something that I think is very confusing for people. And in the fight for equal opportunity and making sure that women can live whatever life they want and men can live whatever life they want, we have confused that with there is no hard wiring. And the reality is, as far as science can tell at this point, we're 50% hardwired and 50% malleable. So your life is more changeable than you could ever possibly imagine. And yet, and I was teaching a class on this, and I realized, can you imagine the level of chaos that there would be in the world if every human being was completely unmoored from any sort of, like, this is what humans are like, or this is what a man is like, or this is what a woman is like, and it is entirely, no, I'm into electrical outlets and gravel. That's what turns me on, right? And you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, the amount of things that we take for granted that are just like, we don't find baboons attractive. That already, the fact that you're more attracted to other humans than you are to other animals, like, that's hardwiring, right? So there is a level of gravitational pull that is necessary. Like, life wouldn't exist if gravity were too much, at least not like we experience it now. If it were too much different in either direction, we would just evolve differently. So society has gravitational pull. The gravitational pull of society is the 50% of humans that are hardwired. Now, when you fail to recognize that there are just things that are true, that we have tendencies, that's the best way to think about it. They are not hard and fast, but they are so predictable in their direction that when you think there's none of that, then the world becomes a very confusing place. When you go that there are heuristics, there are general rules of thumb, there's directional information, then it becomes a lot more predictable, because you don't say, oh, the world is just like me. You say, oh, okay, she falls into a different category on certain things, and when it comes to sexuality, she falls into the female bucket. Of course, it's a spectrum, and everybody's different, and people fall in sort of one area or the other, and I totally buy that there is, like, gender identity, and people can feel very differently about that. There's, of course, gay, straight, so all of this stuff is like these overlapping Venn diagrams. But there are averages. And so once you get into, statistically speaking, it's probably more like this. Like, I would say that you are a very masculine woman in your energies and your tendencies, but it's still easier for me to understand you when I think of you as a woman. Now, I'll bring that all back around to the question, because I saw the like eye movements there.
It's like I'm a little confused. Yeah.
Excellent. So you're going to push me on where you're confused. So bringing it back around to sex, recognizing as for her, right, because she's saying, I'm not even sure what to do. I would say once she's empowered with the idea that, hey, you're going to need rev up, like that's a real thing. And once she understands, oh, okay, it's not weird, it's not unusual, the odds are that as a woman, I'm going to need some sort of buildup. I'm going to need to feel loved. I'm going to need to feel trust. I'm going to need to feel safety. Okay, all things that play into a female orgasm in a way that they don't into a male orgasm. So there's already that disconnect. So then it's like, well, what communicates those things to you? Is it me doing the dishes? Is it me making sure that the kids are taken care of? Do you need to know that the kids are with somebody that you trust? Do you need to know that the kids couldn't possibly walk into the room? Is it a lock on the door? Right? There are all these interesting things. Once you realize, I'm going to need rev up, I'm going to need to feel loved, I need to feel trust, I need to feel secure. Now what makes me feel that? Mm-hmm. And that's going to help her, because she's not trying to overcome all of this stuff. Like, I'm tempted to tell a very funny story right now, but I have a feeling it would just be another layer of complexity to this idea, so I'll keep it on the straight and narrow.
I have a funny story now.
So understanding what those things are for her, the positive cues that lead her into feeling sexy. Candles, flowers, like aromas, relaxation. There's something, right? Identify those, make sure they happen so that by the time we get to the actual physical act of sex, you're ready.
That was amazing.
I confused you though at some point. Did I bring it all back round somehow?
You did, 100%. You totally brought it round. So I agree with all of that. And I mean, the biggest thing, and you've said this already, is it's the transition. Like when I think about myself, when I'm at work, it's like I have a certain way that I act, a certain mentality, a certain hardness to myself that I deliberately bring to the table when I'm doing work. It's I put on a, I have to be a boss, I have to guide things, I have to be a visionary, I have to be an executor, like all the, not even have to, but I am. So all of those take a certain amount of hardness to me. I cannot be a ball of mush. Like I have done that. That was my transition of going from a housewife to how the hell do I become a leader? And I've messed up so many which ways on that journey. But ultimately, it's showing up super confident, super strong, not being afraid to just go for it, try things, fall on your face. And all of that takes a certain amount of mindset, strength, ignoring my negativity. Lisa, what the hell are you doing? Like all of this stuff, I battle that on a daily. Now, when I'm with you, I want to feel soft. I want to cuddle in your arms. I want your arms to really encompass me. I want to feel protected by you. I really do. And I know in these day and age, people may hate that, but I don't fucking care. Like that's what makes me feel good with you. I like feeling protected by you. I choose that. So in order for me to do that, that's what makes me relax. And then I feel sexy and I feel, I can dress up or I want to be the caretaker. Even being the caretaker makes me feel good and sexual. Like all these things because it makes me feel good about myself. Like I'm taking care of you. That's a pride that I have in myself.
Wow.
And so all these little elements to me build up for the moment of sex. And it's a freaking transition. It's like what you say when, if you're doing strict work, business stuff, and then you're being creative. There's a transition cost in there where you have to switch your mind, your body, how you hold yourself. And so for me, it's been very easy in the sense for us to kind of go, okay, Monday to Friday is pretty much all work all the time. Like you literally go to bed with your headphones on. So there's not even a second for transition. But the weekends is my relaxed time. I've got a different hat on, if you will. And so for me, it's very beautiful and easy and comfortable to have just freaking amazing sex on the weekends. But the week I always found it difficult. I found it was more like a burden, another chore. I'm bloody exhausted. I've just spent 12 hours feeling like I'm battling the world and now I have to put on a different hat, relax, get sexy. It's like, Jesus Christ, no. So I've just gone, that was too stressful for me. So if it was too stressful for me, like that's the opposite of what sex should be, right? We need to connect. We need those moments. So that's why we've structured our weeks so that it actually happens on the weekends. And then that's also allowed us to kind of navigate work and everything we're going through there. And then also just making sure that we do have sex because we've, said so often how important that is. And it's really about the connection. So Sex with Emily, I had her on the show and we were literally speaking about this and the whole thing was, it doesn't even just have to be penetration, it's the connection. Give each other, well, you give me that look.
Let me say what?
In the sense,
this sounds like going back to male and female differences.
No,
So,
it's basically saying like if you're not feeling connected,
yep.
sex it's not always just the answer. It can be intimacy, and intimacy covers massages.
To create intimacy, it does not need to be penetration.
Correct.
I thought you were saying sex does not need to be penetration. I was like, yo, we got to talk.
No, come on, it's Sex with Emily.
Yeah.
She encourages penetration.
You keep that madness on your side. But no, I get it now.
So yeah, I think that just being honest about your schedule, being honest about your life, and not trying to pretend, and then really implement like date nights, sex nights, sex days, whatever. But being aware and not feeling guilty, I think is a big thing.
Facts. We tapping out?
That's all I got.
All right, there it is. Boys and girls, I'm telling you, we've been together for 20 years and the sex is as good as ever. may be better because of the levels of trust and knowing each other and all of that. It really is wonderful. I have said many, many times, I'm a fan of love and marriage. I think that shit is real. I think you really can have it. I think it can sustain. It takes energy and effort and focus and insights, but damn, is it beautiful. So we wish that for all of you guys. Put in that energy, put in the effort, and you will be justly rewarded. Thank you guys so much for hanging in. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And until next time, my friends, build an amazing relationship. Peace out.